Hello there, all you beautiful people. My name is Lebushki, and welcome back to another movie review. This time for The Odyssey, a film by Christopher Nolan. Man, let me just say, I had a lot of thoughts about this movie, especially leading up to release, different controversies and everything. Didn't really know what to think. All I knew is that, regardless, chances are we were in for something special. Because I've been with Nolan for quite a while now. I've enjoyed his work as a director, stemming all the way back in the day with The Dark Knight and then Interstellar. This man has had a generational run of fantastic movies and Inception. Holy crap, I forgot Inception. So, when it was announced that he was going to be doing The Odyssey as his next movie, honestly, I could not imagine this film being put in better hands, in safer hands, and someone who genuinely loves the art of filmmaking and movies and source material, which I know is kind of ironic given all the controversy surrounding the movie. But I am here to tell you that the Odyssey is more than freaking worth it. It is very, very, very good. Sure, you could nitpick, and sure, you could have some problems with it. I mean, I tend to give quite a few movies a very perfect score just because I'm very, I guess, appreciative or very happy with the final product. Maybe I just look at things through rose colored lenses. But man, what a way to live life if that's the case. Because I was for the most part pretty much completely unbothered by all these controversies that people have been talking about. I was just like, dude, I'm here for the movie. I'm here for the epic poem that I read back in ninth and 10th grade. Like I'm here for it. Regardless, you could have given this to probably the worst director, and I still probably would have been pretty interested. You know, but they didn't give it to the worst director. They gave it to one of the undisputed legends of the filmmaking world. So I got the distinct pleasure of watching it. Now, when Oppenheimer came out, that was a movie I wasn't expecting to be as good as it actually was, and I actually really enjoyed that. Way more than I thought I ever possibly would. So that put me kind of back onto the okay, Christopher Nolan still has the sauce all these years later. Tenet wasn't well received. I wasn't a huge fan of Dunkirk, so I was wondering if his golden age was over. Oh my goodness, I love it when I'm wrong. There's nothing more refreshing than being wrong about these kinds of things. And so, the Odyssey came about. I got a very excellent theater experience. I found out that I had a 70 millimeter IMAX theater that I was able to watch this movie in, and I was more than thrilled to be able to hop into that experience. First IMAX 70 millimeter ever that I've been to, and man, what a great thing to witness. I don't go to many IMAX movies in general. The last one I went to was Dune Part Two, and that was pretty freaking sick. So I'm very pick and choosy, if you will, when it comes to movies I watch in IMAX, just because it's an expensive ticket, and I don't want any of the movie magic to be wasted on a bad movie. If you catch what I mean, I'll see a bad movie in the premium or the not premium, but the regular format any all the live long day. But I want to see something special in a special format, and the Odyssey fulfilled that. But I'm talking too much. There's a lot of lead up. Let me explain things. Let me lay it all out for you in the next slide. There's I mean there's no doubt that Homer's Odyssey and the Iliad are just some of the most beautifully interesting, well written, and iconic pieces of literature from around the world. Not this isn't a oh yeah, it's only important in this country. It's only important in this country. No. Everyone, I hope, knows about the Odyssey and the Iliad. They know about it because of its beauty, its culture, its writing style. It is something truly special. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I I mean now I want to reread it whenever I get a chance. But it is a truly special story. And one of my biggest concerns with this movie was how it was going to be accurately adapted because it's a pretty long book. And the movie itself is coming in shy under 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 53 minutes. And, maybe that's enough time to adapt a lot of things. But I know that chances are it's not going to be able to adapt everything. If it wants to adapt everything, we're probably looking at a 5 hour movie or, the Odyssey 2, Matt Damon goes back in or something along those lines. So I was kind of worried what, how things would be portrayed and what was going to be portrayed. I was on the fence, and when I saw the trailer, I wasn't very reassured. It didn't really tell me too much, which I like in some instances, but considering I was kind of lukewarm on this movie initially, I wanted to know a little bit more. But personally, now that I've seen it, I kind of like the mystery of the trailer a lot more. I found it a lot more enjoyable. But ultimately, at its core, this movie is a beautiful tale of ironies. It is failure in the face of success, loyalty in the face of reality, and acceptance in the face of change. It is. It's one of those things that was written. I don't know how well all of those translate to the story from whenever it was written. I can't think of the time frame, but I know the Odyssey's pretty old. That I can say that with some confidence. I don't know how well those narrative themes fit into the book. Like I said, I got to reread it again. So kind of take what I say with a grain of salt. One of the things that Nolan does really well is he humanizes his characters in ways that make them interesting. And sometimes he chooses not to humanize them. It depends on the character, really, because sometimes it matters and sometimes it just, you know, doesn't necessarily. If you think about it, it's in a similar thread to Oppenheimer. Robert J. Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, was, in a race against the Nazis to build the first atomic and nuclear weapon. And he did successfully. But then he had to live with the fact that he had started essentially nuclear warfare for the next, well, I mean, even into the modern day as I'm filming and recording this, there's still the threat of nuclear warheads, of that big red button that can be pushed. And it reminds me of Kubrick's Doctor Strangelove, and just this overwhelming threat of, I got a bomb. Well, I got a bomb too. Well, we all have bombs. Who's going to push the button first? But no one wants to, because we honestly realize that in the launching of these nuclear warheads, we're going to commit a mass genocide of half the world, because nuclear warheads aren't something that tend to affect the ivory towers. They affect the streets and the cities of those who aren't able to make the decisions to launch said nuclear weapons. But as I said, this is a beautiful tale of ironies. It is failure in the face of success. It is Odysseus' realization that despite winning the war in Troy, that he still has to get his men home, and that he has failed to protect, to lead, and to save some of them. Odysseus realizes that he has failed to honor the gods. He tricked the Trojans into accepting the horse, a gift of Athena, into into Troy. And that trick cost them their lives when they believed that they were safe and happy and they had won the war was over, all was well. But it was a lie. And Matt Damon has a little bit of survivor's guilt and PTSD because of this, because in the war with Troy, men, women, children were killed, societies were burned, things were crushed. And there's this beautiful scene. Spoilers, by the way. Slight spoilers. I mean, if you haven't read the book by now, that's not really your fault, but do read the book. Probably always a good idea. He realizes that what he has done will change the world forever, as they are moving on from a society that accepts, loves, and worships gods into one that accepts and worships power and people. You know, You can say that the gods are all powerful, that Poseidon is king of the seas, Zeus is king of the skies, but on the ground, it is man who tends to make the decision. And this realization and this portrayal of Odysseus's realization is just utterly beautiful, to say the least. Loyalty in the face of reality is also another common theme, especially as Penelope, his wife, lives 20 years without him, alone with her son. Well, she's alone with her son. However, they're also not alone because hundreds of suitors are lining up to take her hand to become the new king of Ithaca, which, isn't great. And she is very upset that her husband has not come home yet and that he could potentially be dead because her loyalty and love to him is what matters first and foremost. And then, of course, acceptance in the face of change, which kind of ties into the failure in the face of success. Matt Damon's character sees how his trick has changed the world, and he needs to accept that the world will change because they are no longer honoring the god, honoring what they call Zeus's law in the story. All these themes work and come together wonderfully. You don't really necessarily see the threads that are being pulled and woven in the beginning, but by the end, when it all comes together in that beautiful tapestry, ooh, that's what I like to see. I think we had wonderful performances all around. Matt Damon has always proven himself to be a very fine actor, a very good one. I've loved him in Goodwill Hunting. I think I've loved him in everything I've seen. He has great range in this movie. He's got a lot of great emotional scenes, some heartbreaking scenes as well. I mean, as far as protagonists go, this will probably, you know, score him an Oscar win or an Oscar nomination at least. I don't know. We'll hold out on the win until we see what the rest of the year has in store. But I mean, it should probably get him a nomination, if anything. Uh, Anne Hathaway is wonderful. Tom Holland was surprisingly convincing, and you got a million other actors and actresses. You got a lot of fantastic people at the top of their careers, top of their game. Robert Pattinson, of course. You have Mia Goth in here, Lupita Nyong'o. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. Elliot Page, John Bernthal, Benny Safdie. I can't think of the actress who played Cersei, but you have Charlize Theron, Zendaya. You just have a lot of very popular actors, and one of my biggest concerns was that this would take me out of the movie. I'd see Tom Holland, I'd be like, "Ooh, Spider-Man," or I'd see Zendaya, and I'd think, "Ooh, Rue," or MJ. Depending on your poison. But it never really did. Initially, when I first saw these characters, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's Tom Holland." But by the time the movie gets going, you just get caught up in everything. You get caught up in the masterpiece. You get caught up in the beauty of the world. You get caught up in this fairy tale epic that's shown before you. And I mean, I really enjoyed that. I didn't see Matt Damon. I saw Odysseus, and honestly, could the cast overall have been better? Yeah, I'm sure it could have been. You have a lot of very, very, very popular faces here. So if they chose lesser known faces or even completely different known faces, it could be very different. But that is not the reality that we have before us. The reality is that who's in this movie is in this movie, whether you like it or not, and those people did very well. So, maybe at the end of the day, Christopher Nolan chose these people because he knew they could give the performance required of them. And you know what? I'm not arguing. It was great all around. Another thing, and this is pretty stereotypical, pretty standard stuff for Christopher Nolan, is the practical effects are what really helps this movie shine. I mean, this man never, almost never, pretty much never wants to at least uses CGI. He creates these fairy tales, these worlds. He shoots on location. He builds a whole Trojan horse for the sake of this movie. He builds a replica of Troy. He does the costumes, he builds ships, he puppeteers a giant cyclops. That does this man do anything else? I don't know. I mean, I know I'm giving Christopher Nolan a crazy amount of glaze, but in the modern day, in the CGI nightmares that we see on screen before us, there's a reason why he gets a lot of glaze, you know? As much as CGI is, a fun thing and in very many instances beautiful and utterly part of the movie magic or the movie making magical process, practicality wins out. I'm sorry, it just does. If you want to be invested in a story, you don't want to be caught in between 17 different green screens. It's one of the things that Marvel has done that's kind of made them mm, meander downwards in terms of quality. Too much green screen, not enough practicality. And of course, they're not going to be a super entirely practical uh, series. I mean, it's superheroes for crying out loud. But you can still get some practicality in certain instances. And I just got to say, between costumes, between the Cyclops, between the design of everything overall, this movie is beautiful. It is masterclass. And another thing that really took me by surprise is that the usage of classical instruments helps this movie feel more ethereal and ancient. What do I mean by that? Well, the what's his name? The score master? I don't know. Whoever made the score, whatever the title is for that, the scorer, the musical man, Ludwig Göransson, is a phenomenal, absolutely freaking phenomenal person in the musical department, if you will. 3 Oscars to his name: Black Panther, Oppenheimer, and Sinners. That's it. All of those fantastic, gorgeous, unique freaking scores and musical ensembles has uh had quite the freaking challenge set up against him. Nolan didn't want him using any of our modern day instruments and instead wanted him to try and rely on classical instruments of the day, such as a lyre. And that's the only one that I know because I don't know ancient instruments. Bronzes, that's another thing that just came to mind. And a thing that kind of looks like a flute, but I don't know music. So kind of looks like a flute, but I don't really think it is. Maybe it is. Who knows? But he doesn't use a stereotypical orchestra. He uses sound to help craft the story, and there's there's no orchestra. It's more of a choral ensemble, and you've got these voices of that feel like souls of the tortured and of the damned crying out while you have strings plucked from freaking from freaking musical instruments that are far beyond our time. It sounds that you don't hear every day. It sounds from before I have a screen sitting in front of me, before I have a microphone in front of me, before I even was a thought, before my grandparents, my great 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 grandparents were a thought. It it truly captures this element of ethereal and ancient being that I've never really felt anywhere else. It is fantastic. The only thing I can compare it to is Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings is different in its own right. I mean, it's still fantasy. These kind of fall in the same genre, if you will, but Lord of the Rings is like its own beast. That is like the Mount Olympus of fantasy movies. But there might be, a tiny little house, a couple leagues down for the Odyssey. In this case, I'm joking, of course, but this usage of ancient instruments was just utterly fantastic and something I truly, truly, truly enjoyed getting to hear because it made this story pop. It made it much more unique in my mind. Another last point: controversy and accuracy. Like I mentioned above, yeah, could the movie have been casted better? Sure. I think everyone kind of sees movies and they're like, yeah, I would have changed that casting. Whether or not it's, Matt Damon or Elliot Page, it's entirely just up to the own person's interpretation. But for what we got and who we got, I'm walking away satisfied. You know, I'm walking away happy with the final product and overall just very thrilled to witness this event. Accuracy, eh, I heard a lot of people were like, "Well, the costumes aren't great. They are this and this and that." And again, yeah, it's a movie. I mean, it's not necessarily supposed to be real. Everyone was also saying, "Oh, this isn't like the vision Homer imagined." And it's like, sure, but I don't think Homer ever even imagined his epic being put onto screen as a movie. I don't see much of a problem. I understand why people do have a problem. I just don't see much of a problem with it personally. It is it is what it is. This movie could have been just as terrible as it is good, and sometimes that's the battle you play with Hollywood. There's a million movies that come out that look like they're going to be good and then turn out being the worst thing ever, but vice versa. Sometimes movies that look bad turn out being really good. And judging from all the reviews and the comments and everything that I've seen, most people thought this looked bad and it turned out really good. So, at the end of the day, I'm happy. A majority of people are happy. I'm sure there's still some upset people out there, but sorry for those who are upset. And for those who enjoyed it, welcome to the club. This movie freaking rocks. I'm sorry to say it. I personally thought it rocked. And so I give it an A plus, 100 out of 100. Yeah, there are minimal changes that could be made, I suppose, but I'm not someone who makes movies. I'm someone who reviews movies. And everything about this was just fascinating and riveting and just completely eye catching. So I find myself very satisfied and very happy with the final product. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed another movie review. I took a little bit of a break in between movie reviews just because I was getting a little burnt out by it and just focused more on gaming because that's kind of what I wanted uh, my whole thing to be online. But I hope you enjoy this return to form. I'm gonna try and do some more. I got some other reviews lined up, so I guess we'll see what happens. Check out a link in the description below for a playlist that features all my other movie reviews. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think. I like engaging with an audience. And even if you guys disagree, that's completely fine. Please tell me why you disagree. That's okay. We're human. That the essence of human is disagreement and controversy and fun. Like it not everyone's the same. That's what makes being alive so much fun, so enjoyable. So please disagree with me. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm stupid. I can take it. It's the internet. It is what it is. But once again, thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take it easy. Peace out.